finally here. We've got our 2025 social media survey results. We have asked more than 500 people across the country and maybe a little beyond. Our friends up in Canada and a few other countries have shared with us how they're using social media for schools. And today I'm actually going to break down the results. And I think you're going to have a lot to learn. We're going to find out what roles people have, how many schools they're responsible for, which channels they're using, what are some of their biggest struggles. And today's podcast, if you want to take a look online on my YouTube channel, I'm actually going to be showing the charts for you during this interview. So if you're listening, that's fine. I'll explain all of the numbers. But if you want to watch it over on my YouTube channel, you can jump on over there as well. Now, today's just a solo episode, but every week on this podcast, I interview awesome people. Do you want to be on the podcast, or do you know somebody that would make a great guest on this podcast? You all have so much to share. If you are interested, please reach out to me. I'm Andrea at socialschool4edu.com. If you'd love to come on, or maybe you'd even just love to come on and kind of ask a question and get some advice. That would make a really fun episode as well. So it's very easy to do. We just do it over Zoom, make you feel super comfortable, and we help other people. Okay, that's what we're all about here at Mastering Social Media for Schools. So if you'd like to be on the podcast or know somebody who'd make a great guest, let me know. Now, before we jump into the survey, let's jump into this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is simply discussing social media platforms and what you should be on. There has been a lot of discussion in 2025, people jumping over to a new account called Blue Sky. And there's always going to be a new social media platform, right? That's going to be a little bit different than what's out there. And I just want to share with you in regards to managing social media for your school district. And the results we're going to talk about today. Only 3% of the respondents of over 500 schools that responded said they were using Blue Sky. And maybe even out of that 3%, they may have an account, but they might not actually be using it. So I just want to reiterate with today's K-12 PR tip is that every time you open a new channel, you have to perform on that channel. You have to be present. You have to engage. You have to kind of cater your content to that channel. And you are further diversifying, in some cases, your viewership, right? And it's just challenging in a school when most of you all wear multiple hats to do all the things. And you're going to find out today which channels I recommend focusing on. And if you're not doing those well, I don't think you should jump over to new channels. Now, you may want to reserve your handle over on Blue Sky. Okay. But just my tip is, a lot of people are asking, should I be on that? Should I be on Threads? Do I need to be on LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. And I'm just saying, slow down. Put your priorities where your community's at first before you're jumping into all of these other channels. So I hope that little pep talk and little tip helps. Now let's get into the 2025 data. We get to get our numbers on today. So for all my data people out there, you are going to love it. Social School for EDU in January of 2025 surveyed over 550 school social media folks from across the country and a little bit beyond, and asked them some questions of how they're using social media for their school or district. Okay. And today I'm going to break those down. And a reminder, if you'd like to see these charts, we're going to have a blog also linked where you can just quickly look through all of these. But today's podcast, I'm actually going through a little slide deck. So if you catch me over on YouTube, you can see me and you're going to be able to see the results. So if you are a visual learner, that will definitely help because there's a lot of numbers that we're going to share with you. So let's just kick off. The first question that we asked these respondents was just, what's your role within your school or district? Okay. And there's a lot of them. There's over 10 answers. But 28% of the people that responded said they're a communications, PR director, or manager. Okay. 23% of you said you're a comms, PR specialist, or a coordinator. Okay. So a communications or PR specialist or coordinator. Then it jumps down to 10% of you said you're a social media, digital comms, and website manager. Okay. 7% community relations director or specialist. And then we get down into 6% of you were admin assistants. 5% were other. 4% were teacher. 3% were marketing. We had 6% of you say you're a marketing and comms director. So it's a little bit different than just the communication director, PR director. Then we got down to marketing. Some of you were even superintendents or principals. So there's a lot of different people within schools that manage social media. And if you're not lucky enough to have a specific role in communications, you're not alone. Okay. So many schools are seeing the importance of having a role like that because with increasing school competition and decreasing birth rates, there's just a lot more competition, right, for fewer students. So I think this role is critical, but there are many of your schools that don't yet have those. And again, Social School for EDU happens to serve a lot of schools who don't have that because then we can take social media off your plate. But wanted to start there with what people's roles are that took this survey. Okay. Now, what type of school do you work for? 75% of those 552 respondents were in public school, 18% private school, charter 4%, other was 3%. Okay. And oh, shoot, hang on. I'm just trying to get to my other screen. So some of the others would have obviously been, online schools and some of those things. I'm just trying to see if I can get to, educational service centers, voluntary aid school, career tech center is some of those others. Okay. So what type of school do you work for? So this is largely public, 75%. So keep that in mind as we look at the data. Then we also asked, how long have you been involved with social media for your school or district? Okay. 11% have been less than a year. 30%, which was our biggest band, was 1 to 3 years. Okay. 21% have been doing it 3 to 5 years, 22%, 6 to 10, 16% more than 10 years. I am now in that bucket of more than 10 years. Gosh, it feels like I just got started, but here I am in 11 years. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of shifting of people's responsibilities. And so even though Facebook's been around, I'd say 2008, 2009, many of you that are doing it for a school haven't been doing it obviously that long. Okay. So that was that question. All right. Next, this is really important. And we're going to pick up some trends because we've been doing this survey since 2022. Okay. And so I'm going to give some trends on this, but we ask in 2025, what social media channels do you manage for your school or district? 98% use Facebook. 88% use Instagram. Then there's a big drop off, 52% YouTube, 48% Twitter X, 45% LinkedIn. Okay, and then there's another big drop off to 6%. 6% TikTok, 5% Threads, 5% Nextdoor, which, by the way, I still need to do a podcast episode on folks that are using Nextdoor. 3% Blue Sky, 2% Interest, 1% Other, None, or Snapchat. So the big ones, Facebook and Instagram. Okay. And that's good because they're connected through Meta and we can reach a lot of people. If you have capacity to do more, YouTube, Twitter, X, and LinkedIn. But we've got some good observations that my team helped put together. And by the way, Andrea Miller is my my director of operations, and she's awesome. And she helped put this data together. And then Allison, my amazing graphic designer, put together the graphics. And then I believe my sweet Emily, who does my marketing, helped put some of these observations together. So this is a team effort. I do not do this alone. I get to be the face and talk about it. But gosh, I have an amazing team here at Social School for EDU. So that's just a few names: Allison, Andrea, another Andrea, and Emily. So a few observations. More schools are using Instagram. So back in 2022, the number was 79%. 2023, 85%. Now we're up to 88%. And I am so, so proud at Social School for EDU to be teaching a lot on Instagram. And if you feel like you want to take your Instagram to the next level, jump in my membership group. Okay. That is the best way. We just got done with an incredible Instagram challenge and people learned a lot. They reached a lot more people. And now they've got the skill set to make Instagram easier for the rest of the school year and the rest of their career. Okay. So Instagram, definitely more schools are using Instagram. Observation number 2, fewer schools are using Twitter. There's a big drop off. Back in 2022, 74% of schools were using Twitter or X. 2025, 48%. That's a huge drop off. So again, if you aren't reaching a lot of people with X, drop it off. And other schools are doing the same. So if this is your sign as far as using some of this data to show your staff, show your school leaders that there's not as much use. Of course, every school is different, and maybe that's still a good channel for you. And if it is, awesome. Observation number 3, more schools are using LinkedIn. So back in 2022, we were at 37%. 2025, we're up to 45%. So you guys, it's hard to get teachers. It's hard to get support staff. We need to get things out there. LinkedIn usually is considered where people go to look for jobs, but we can't just post jobs. We need to actually post what our school's all about, right? And get people interested in working for our school. And then observation number 4 is just schools are still not using TikTok at a large rate. So 2022, it was 4%. Then it went up to 8% in 2023, back down to 6% in 2025. Of course, there's a lot of question marks in the US about whether TikTok will stay. I believe that it likely will. Someone will buy it out and be able to keep using that here in the US. But still not a lot of schools are using that. And I'm telling you, it's okay if you're not, right? Most schools aren't. Get into Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, right? They copy everything that everybody else puts out there. And that's nice for us because we get to take advantage of the different storytelling methods. Okay. All right. Next question. We asked everybody, I feel that I have all of our social media channels set up properly for the district. I am confident of my setup through Meta Business Manager portfolio because it just switched over in a Meta Business portfolio. 21% of you strongly agreed. 39% of you generally agreed. So that's over half of you. But 27% were neutral, 11% generally disagreed, and 2% of you strongly disagreed. I am betting that out of the strongly agree and generally agree, some of you still probably don't have your channel set up properly. And I'm sorry, but it's just because it's confusing. I help people all the time. I just want you to know if you are unsure, now's the time, because when somebody leaves and you don't have access to a page, you're going to be up that creek without that paddle. I think that's the saying. I'm not sure. But you definitely should have that set up properly. I do have a blog over on my website that I just updated on the Meta Business portfolio. But if you need more help with that, again, I strongly recommend joining my membership group. Just joining the membership group for that reason alone will be worth the whole annual subscription. And by the way, right now in March, when this is airing until the end of March, I have a special where you can sign up for 6 months for $3.95 for my membership group. It might be time to jump in and join that. And then you can get this taken care of, because I don't know if you knew this, but I now offer one-on-one sessions at no additional charge. There's an option to sign up for those right inside my membership group, in addition to all the other trainings and sessions that we have each week. So that is a question on, proper setup. This is an interesting question. When comparing our social media efforts with socials or with schools or districts around me, I feel that our social media is excellent, above average, average, below average, poor, or not sure. Okay. So 8% of you said when comparing to other schools, we are off the charts excellent. Okay. 48% of you said you're above average, and 38% said you were average. That leaves only 5, 6, 7% of you that said below average, poor, or not sure. 5% were below average, 1% poor, 1% not sure. So good job. Hopefully, if you are paying attention and taking this survey, you're paying attention and to your social media and trying to up your game. So this may be a little skewed because obviously you got to be a little bit tuned in to even respond to this. So when I look around at schools, I do agree that many of you that I'm connected with are doing an above average or excellent job. Some of you are pretty average, but there are also a lot of folks out there that are below average. And if they are, if you're one of them, make sure you're subscribing to all our free content. Share those tips and tricks and follow other schools to get great ideas, right? Um, this was an interesting and I think a new question that we asked this year was how many schools do you support with your social media efforts? And, how many schools are in your school system, basically? Um, 1 to 5 schools, 27% of you have 1 to 5 schools. 30% of you have 6 to 10 schools. 25% of you have 11 to 20 schools. 9% have 21 to 40 schools. 6% have 41 to 90 schools. And 1% of you, oh my goodness, have over 200 schools in your school district and that you're helping support. There's a wide variety, guys. And some of you, 1 to 5 schools, that's pretty manageable, even 6 to 10. But gosh, almost half of you are serving more than 11 schools with social media assistance. That is challenging. Okay. But I think this is just good to get in perspective of where we're all at. And knowing that there's other people out there like us. Okay. So that was that question. Then we asked another new question of I'm responsible for supporting individual school sites with social media training. So again, this kind of relates back to the last one. I mean, almost half of you have over 11 schools that you're responsible for. Are you providing training for those school sites on how to use social media? 58% said no. 42% of you said yes. So what are you doing for training? It's hard to keep up, right? And they are not full-time in their role. We definitely have some resources in our membership group that give you training tools to train those folks and best practices and all of those things. So if you are one of the, respondents that do have responsible for training at your school sites, I hope that you take advantage of a lot of our free resources, our podcast episodes that they could listen to. Obviously, this little video that they could potentially watch. But we do a lot of trainings inside our membership group. And you guys, when you're a member of our membership group, you get to have 3 people active in that group. But the trainings inside of our group, you can share it with anybody. That's right, anybody in your school system. So if you have 20 schools and you got 20 different site managers, if you see a training on Instagram best practices, you can share that training that we put on and we record and we have slide decks and we have the recordings. You can share that with your folks for no additional charge. It's awesome. So consider that. Okay. Okay. Do your school-based social media managers receive a stipend? Do they get paid to run social media for their site? This is another new question. 46% of you say no, it's volunteer work. You find the people that love it and they do it, and they're not paid. 46%. 24% say no, it's part of their job description with other duties as assigned. 21%, only 21% of you say yes. And 4% say it's a mixture of a stipend and volunteer work. So again, we love to be able to give additional payments, but we know things are tough in schools, especially since 75% of our respondents were public schools. So we know it's tough. But we just wanted to ask this question because, again, maybe you can use this to help support, hey, we don't pay, but most schools don't pay either. But it's really valuable. You're learning some skills, and maybe you can do gifts in other ways of, giving them some PD, giving them some love with a little bit swag or something like that. Okay. Um, this, I think, again, was another new question. We got a lot of new questions this year. My school or district always allows comments on our social media posts. This always comes up, and it's more and more with the, polarization of people being on one extreme or the other. It can be challenging to monitor comments. So my school or district always allows comments. 77% of you said always. 17% said it depends on the type of content being shared. 5% of you said no. We do not always allow comments, and 1% said other. So just wanted to share this because I think it's valuable, again, to see what other schools are doing when it comes to comments. Facebook doesn't make it easy to shut comments off just blankly. You actually have to shut comments off per post. So that can be a little challenging. I really recommend social media to be social. But you work for somebody and the school board or your superintendent is just dead set against comments for some reason. But again, with commenting, talk to your legal group. Okay. I'm not a lawyer. I never played one on TV. We got to make sure we get that legal input. Okay. This is a good question. Have you involved students in your social media content generation? 59% say no, and 41% say yes. Great job, 41%. It's not easy, but students' involvement is an amazing thing with social media content. It eventually will make content easier. And I was just talking with somebody in our membership group on one of our one-on-one calls, and she said, since adding students, the comments have actually gotten a lot nicer because they know that many times students are involved in posting. So I love that that's a side effect. But my friend Jill Johnson, Dr. Jill Johnson over at Class Intercom, they're on a mission to make this even more relevant. I obviously have taught a lot on this. Class Intercom has a system, a platform that can make it easy for students to submit. Check it out. Okay. So, but 59% of respondents still say no. And then we said, out of that 59% that said no, why? Why haven't you involved your students in storytelling? 42% of you said, I'm too busy. We'd like to help you with tools to take that on, but I get it. It does take time. So 42% said they're too busy. 29% said, I don't feel like I have the controls or tools to moderate what the students are posting. 20% of you said my administration won't allow it. 17% says I'm just nervous. Guys, we're all nervous before we try anything new. Okay. So just try it. And all of a sudden you'll be like, oh my gosh, this wasn't so bad. 11%, I want total control over the social media channels. This decision is really up to me. So 11% of you are control freaks. 10% other, 7% I feel our students are too young, which may be the case. Maybe you're a pre-K school through fifth grade. 5% of you haven't really thought about it. 3% you're trying to get it started. 2% there's a cell phone ban for students at my school. 2% I'm not sure how to start. So if you don't have the tools, if you're not sure where to start, like I said, see my friends at Class Intercom, talk to me. We do have our social media membership group, which I've talked about a few times, but that does support training materials for students. And some schools have students in our membership group with the ability to ask questions. So we have some tools out there. Okay. How have you involved in your students? How have you involved students in your storytelling? So 41% of you said you have involved students. How have you included that? Well, 41% of you involved student assignments from classes like journalism, marketing, video. 39% of you have a student internship or formal program led by someone in communications that meets on a regular basis, maybe weekly or monthly. 35% of you have had them create reels or TikTok videos. 27% have shared an Instagram story takeover for a day. I just saw a really good example of this, and I'll include this in the show notes. New Life Academy. They did a day in the life, and one of their senior students walked through a day. Just a great example of a takeover. 22% post regularly through an approval process. 13% other, and 7% post regularly directly to the social media platforms without an approval process. So you guys just really took that on. That 13%, communicator shares content from student-run clubs or accounts. They ask students to submit student or staff nominations. They include them in promos. They have a segment called Student Voice that's written by students. So there's a lot of ideas, a lot of ways. Most popular three ways are student assignments, having an internship program, or just get them to create one-off, a reel, or a TikTok. Okay, so awesome. Observation, just number 5, since doing this and starting this in 2022, involving students is becoming more and more of a priority. Okay, variety of questions have really shown this. So I love that because these are real jobs that these students can get. Okay. Next question was, I have a great system to manage all of the social media channels that pop up throughout my school system. I have an approval process and am able to gain proper access to help in case of staff or admin changes. I really expected this to be lower, but 17% of you strongly agreed with this. You said, I have an amazing system, and 24% of you generally agreed. But that's still below half of you. So more than half of you said, I'm neutral, I generally disagree, or I strongly disagree. 9% of you said strongly disagree, 19% generally disagree, and 31% said neutral. So all I'm saying, and that's okay. I'm actually surprised that how many of you strongly agreed because I thought more of you would be neutral. Because it just seems when you have everything figured out, somebody pops up a new Instagram account or a new TikTok channel that's associated with your school. It's little by little. We do have a blog. I talk about it extensively in my book, Social Media for Schools. So if you haven't grabbed your copy, that'd be a real cheap resource for you to grab. But getting a directory and getting a system of approvals is really important to be able to just kind of herd the cats, right? So that was our question there. And if you don't have a process, so if I can go back, don't feel bad because many people don't. 28% of you said you don't have a process. So, what tools or training do you use to stay up to date on social media best practices? Okay. This again, I submit this, or I deliver this, survey. So of course it's going to be skewed towards the newsletter, but I hope all of you are in my free newsletter that comes out every other week. 81% of you that responded said I subscribe to that newsletter. Okay, free resources, blogs, podcasts, video tips, all of the things. 53% say you simply search the internet to stay up to date on social media best practices. 53% say that you're a member of your state SPRA, your School Public Relations Association chapter. 38% of you said you're a member of the National School Public Relations Association, NSPRA. 27% of you listen to podcasts. 27% of you are actually a member of our membership program, and that's a great way to stay connected. That's honestly my secret weapon to keeping up. 25% of you actually listen to the Mastering Social Media for Schools podcast. I'd love to see that number higher because we talk to really great people and you usually get a good nugget that's going to change your world. And 23% of you said, I'm in another organization or group that meets to discuss social media best practices. Okay. So there's lots of ways to stay up to date. It's always changing. So you can't just be like, check it off. Social media, I know what I'm doing. I'm good for the rest of my life. No, because the next week something changes. So definitely subscribe to the newsletter. You can search things out on the internet, and then you can join organizations like your state chapter, which like here in Wisconsin, it's WSPRA, WSPRA. You can also join the national group. Okay. So just, this is pretty interesting. And I would hope, my friends at NSPRA, I would hope that this has maybe just a little bit to do with me helping spread the news too of the great things NSPRA does. But NSPRA has really been up in their game. My friend Melissa McConnell is in charge of their professional development series, and it has just grown so much over the past few years. They're really doing a lot to support schools across the country in so many ways. So I love it. A lot of value there. Back in 2022, only 14% of you that responded were in a state SPRA chapter and 11% were in NSPRA. Now, fast forward to 2025. It says 2024 on my slide, but it's 2025. 53% of you are part of a state chapter, and 38% of you are with NSPRA. So great. Check those out. There's a reason that number has grown so much, right? Because that's a valuable tool in your toolbox. Awesome. All right, we're almost done here. The 10 biggest challenges with social media for your school or district. Okay. There's a lot of things. This is really just, I think maybe some of it was checkbox. No, I think all of it was just open-ended. And we categorized with our help of our nice ChatGPT, helped give us the priority of what most people struggled with. Number one, lack of time. Okay. I'd like to give you another hour of your day, but I can't do that. So I'm sorry. So I try to save you time, but lack of time. Number two, collecting content to post. Number three, staff participation. Number four, one person department. Five, equity and representation across schools. Six, engagement. Seven, negative comments and misinformation. Eight, photo and content quality. Nine, consistency. And 10, support from administration. Those were the 10 biggest struggles in order of how they showed up. So the most of you are saying, I don't have enough time. I have a problem collecting content to post. And that's probably related to staff participation because they're not submitting things. And many of you are one person departments. And that's just the truth, guys. Many of you are one person or less because this is just like other duties as assigned. So these are your struggles. I'm trying to help you with these struggles with training and tips and tricks and what works best. But these are the biggest struggles. Okay. And out of this, observation number 7 out of this over the years has been time has always been the biggest challenge, and collecting content has always been the second biggest challenge. Okay. For the last 3 years. So, again, you can't hope for things to get easier. You've got to get better. You get better by surrounding yourself with great people, by listening to a podcast like this, by talking to other people about what they're doing, by joining a state chapter, by joining our membership group. Okay. You can up your game and we can help with those. Now, this question, and I think we're close to the last question here, top 10 goals or focus areas for social media for your, oh, shoot. This should be for your 24-25 school year or 25-26 school year. So as you look ahead, what are your top goals? Number 1 was increasing engagement. Number 2, posting more frequently. Number 3, including students. So I love that. So thinking about your goals as you look forward into this 25-26 school year, this 24-25 school year that we're in right now, increase engagement, number 1, posting more frequently, number 2, involving students, number 3. Number 4, creating video content like reels and short videos. Number 5, improving content quality. Number 6, highlighting our day-to-day stories. Number 7, adding or expanding platforms. Number 8, storytelling. Number 9, equity and content. And number 10, training and streamlining processes. Okay. I would love to get feedback on how are you tackling these goals. If you got a goal, you got to get, smart plan, right? Smart and specific and measurable, and all of that. So how are you doing that? Again, I hope that you're listening in because we are using not only your struggles, but these goals for our content for 2025. So you will be learning more about increasing engagement through podcast episodes, through webinars that we do, and through some of the training, specific training that we do in our membership group. How do we post more frequently? Well, that comes back to developing a system that works where it's not all on your shoulders, and that including students can help. Okay. So those are the top goals. Think about your goals. Observation number 9, engagement is your number one goal. Increasing engagement has been the number one goal for the last 3 years, followed by posting more frequently. So, engagement means more reach. That's why engagement matters. So we want people to engage. We have to keep up with what people are engaging with, um, to make sure we can stay on top of that. Okay. Um, and finally, oh, that was the last one. That was all of the survey for 2025. So, what are you going to do with this? Share it with your team, share it with your leadership. Decide on, what is this going to pivot anything that you're doing in 2025? If it does, let me know. Andrea at socialschoolforedu.com. Even if, again, at the beginning, I invited, if you want to be on this podcast and maybe talk about one of these struggles, adding a platform, how do I create more time? Or this system really worked well for getting my staff more engaged, and I have way more stories to share. I want to feature you on this podcast. Okay. But if you just want to share with me individually, you can always email me, Andrea at socialschoolforedu.com, and I'll respond because I love talking about this stuff. Guys, I've been doing it every day for 11 years now. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. So thank you to everybody who responded. We did give away a $50 Amazon gift card to one of our lucky respondents. We're going to keep trying to support and nurture you in your storytelling efforts because I'm telling you, it makes a difference. Okay. So until next time, keep telling those stories. And if this was helpful for you, make sure to share this episode. Okay. It really does help. We want more people to be connected and support their schools. And a simple share is a great way to do that. Have a good one, guys. Bye bye.